Have you ever felt someone staring at you so intensely that you froze, shrank, or second guessed yourself? It's not just a look, it can be a weapon. Narcissists use what I call the stare of control to dominate, intimidate, and remind you who holds the power. And Meghan Markle, she's been caught on camera doing this again and again. Today, we're breaking down one of the reasons why I believe Meghan uses this stare. I'll show you real clips of it in action with Meghan giving this stare to Harry. And we'll talk about the reasons that I believe Meghan stares at Harry in this way. So let's get into all of this, but before we begin, here's the intro. Welcome to Revealing the Narc. Join me as I highlight narcissistic traits in celebrities and public figures. Everything here is in my opinion and not professional advice. If you enjoy the analysis, please like and subscribe. A lot of you have asked for a deep dive into the narcissistic stare. And while I was doing the research for this video, I was putting clips of Meghan together of Meghan doing it, and I noticed that she gives this stare on four different occasions. The first is the love bombing stare, which is what we'll talk about in this video. But I will make three more videos. The first one about when she's looking at someone to try to silence them so she can talk. The one after that will be the competitive and intimidation stare that she gives. And finally, we'll end this series with a video on the stare she gives when she's performing for the cameras. Before we go any further, let's define the narcissistic stare. This isn't just someone making normal eye contact or gazing at someone. It's an unusually fixed, prolonged, and charged gaze that often feels invasive or controlling to the person on the receiving end. It can show up as barely blinking or a frozen facial expression that doesn't match the context. People on the receiving end often describe it as feeling pinned down, studied, or under a microscope instead of feeling like they're seen in a warm or curious way. Let's dig a little deeper now and talk about this love bombing stare. During the love bombing phase of a narcissistic relationship, a narcissist often uses intense, prolonged eye contact that feels deeply personal. It's almost magnetic. It's not just normal gazing, it's a calculated tool to create the illusion of extraordinary intimacy. Here's a description of how it looks. The eyes stay locked on the person for far longer than typical. There's often a soft smile or slightly tilted head to appear tender and captivated. There's minimal blinking and little head movement. It's almost like they're fixing the person in place. And sometimes the gaze feels a bit too focused and a bit too intimate for how well they actually know you. And it does have a psychological effect on the target. It floods the person on the opposing end of this stare with attention, and that can release feel good chemicals like dopamine and oxytocin and make them feel uniquely seen. It often makes the target think we have such amazing chemistry, when in reality, it's a manipulation to speed up attachment. Later, once the love bombing phase ends, the stare can shift to coldness, control, or intimidation, creating confusion and craving for that initial warmth again. How can we distinguish it from a normal romantic gaze? A normal romantic gaze feels warm and relaxed with natural breaks and responsive expressions. It evolves gradually as intimacy grows and it feels mutual and comfortable, versus the narcissistic gaze during this love bombing period. It's intense, prolonged, almost fixed. It doesn't match the conversation or context. It can happen very early, like on first dates or first meetings, and it often feels mesmerizing yet a little overwhelming or invasive. Now let's get into a couple of those video clips. The first three clips we'll watch are from the day that they gave the engagement interview. So this was November 2017. The first clip is from when they are standing in the garden, and you can see Meghan gazing at him for the cameras. She's actually has both hands holding his hand. It's a very intense look that she's giving him. Here, I'll play it again. You can see she's so focused on him. Her body is actually turned towards him, fixated on him. We don't see this body language from her much anymore. She faces the cameras directly now. My impression is that she's trying to let him know that all she cares about is him. She doesn't care about the press that's there. Her gaze, her love, her attention, her focus is all on him. And it also is signaling all of these same things to the royal family and to the world at large. We know that Meghan, I think, was very sensitive about how she was being perceived. In fact, during the engagement interview, there was a question that was asked if this was a whirlwind romance. And I feel like that tapped into something that Megan she really did not like that question. Let me put that clip right here.
Which for most people would be quite a whirlwind. Is that how it's felt to you?
I don't think that I would call it a whirlwind in terms of our relationship. Obviously, there have been layers attached to how public it has become after we had a good 5, 6 months almost with just privacy, which was amazing.
So, putting these two things together, my impression is that Megan wanted to give off this impression that it wasn't a whirlwind romance, that they were completely logical when they got into this. They really got to know each other. This was not something that they just jumped into, which is contradictory to a lot of other things that she has said. But I mean, if Megan is the queen of anything, is the queen of contradictions, right? She's also queen of Delulu, but I think she's also queen of contradictions. Okay, everyone, let's go to the next clip. This clip was so long. I sped it up by 3 times. So, this particular instance of this narcissistic stare lasts a solid 30 seconds. I know that the clip is showing up with Harry's face shown here, but notice that Megan's nose is in the frame looking towards him. So here we go. Let's start the countdown. She is absolutely, look at, oh my gosh, it's so uncomfortable. And it's not the more aggressive stare that she gives him a lot during this interview. And I say that because she does have an upturned smile, or her lip is curved a little upwards during this particular moment. There are definitely more intimidating looks that she gives him during this engagement interview, but I feel this one in particular, she is giving him the narcissistic stare, the love bombing version. Here's the next moment that I wanted to show you from the engagement interview. You see how prolonged and intense the gaze is, and she's also not blinking that often. The next clip is from the Endeavor Fund Awards, I believe it was, in 2018. This was February 2018, so 3 months before they were married. And let's take a look. She's gazing so intently at him. And I don't think this is one of the gazes where she wants to start talking. The reason I say that is because she has that upturned smile. She's not looking like she's angry and she's jumping into the moment. She's staring directly at him in a in what looks like a loving gaze. This is very different, I feel, from the Disney moment and from the Jane Pauley interview, where she's trying to jump in or she's trying to tell him to just stop talking. But you all let me know in the comments if you see this as well. This next moment is from their visit to Northern Ireland in March of 2018. Again, this is before they were married. And notice the pattern here. A lot of these narcissistic gazes that I've been spotting, the love bombing version, it's before they were married. I have another event that I'll show you 2 clips from where she's giving him the narcissistic stare, and this is shortly after they were married. But generally, she doesn't look at him that way anymore, except the one event that's really sticking in my mind is Invictus of this year. I think she was really trying to sell that image that she is just so loving and adoring towards him. But I think by aligning those two together, that we're seeing so many instances of the narcissistic stare, either before the wedding or shortly after the wedding versus now, that says a lot. So here we go. Harry is speaking to these young people, and look at Meghan. She's just staring at him. It's very difficult for him to interact. In this particular moment, I believe she's trying to get the focus back on herself, which is one of the reasons why I think she gives this look. I'll cover that later in the video, though. Look at that one. And I want to tell you, I did not zoom in on this. The photographer or the camera person, they're the ones that had zoomed in this much on her face. You'll notice once I start the clip that they actually zoom out, but look at that stare. Oh my goodness. This is from the 100 Days of Peace event, and it occurred in September of 2018. So this is just 4 short months, less than 4 months from their wedding. So let's watch that clip and look how she looks at him. And in the beginning part of the clip, it does look scary. Her mouth looks kind of angry, but when you look at it, it turns into a smile. And that's why I think this gaze is the love bombing version. The final clip I'm going to show you is from that same event. There were actually multiple times that Megan gave him this love bombing stare throughout this event, but unfortunately, the camera cuts off very quickly. And I have a conspiracy about that, that when you're looking for clips that are, I don't know, that maybe may not cast Megan in a great light, you somehow can't find them or they're edited out. So let's watch this clip again. You see Megan is just looking at him intently, strong focus on him, and she has half a smile, it looks like. These videos are wild. I think there are a few reasons that Megan has this stare, so let's talk about those. The first one is she's performing for the cameras. The gaze sells the image of a smitten, united couple, regardless of what's really happening between them. It ensures that photographs and video clips capture her looking adoring, which plays well in headlines. I think she's trying to re engage his attention. If his attention is drifting elsewhere, that stare can be a silent pull. It's like saying, "Look back at me." It's a nonverbal prompt to recenter the interaction on her. I think she's also trying to claim the territory. Holding that gaze while he looks away is a subtle public display of possession. It's saying to the world, "He's with me." It broadcasts unity, even if he's not mirroring it. It's a way for her to maintain the narrative of devotion. For someone who is so conscious of their public brand, the adoring stare sustains the fairy tale romance image, which is useful for press and for fans. It signals to onlookers that she's the loving, attentive partner. And finally, it may be a way for her to test her own power. It's a quiet way to see if he'll notice and respond, a kind of compliance test. Lack of response doesn't necessarily deter her because the performance still serves her narrative. If this resonated with you and you feel comfortable sharing, please do so in the comments. If this was interesting to you, please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you'll know every time I drop a new video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you're looking for a meaningful way to support something beyond the screen, I'd love for you to consider making a donation to the National Domestic Violence Hotline in lieu of super chats and super stickers. They provide 24/7 support and resources for people in unsafe or overwhelming situations, whether that's emotional, physical, or just hard to name. Their information is on the screen should you need to contact them, and you'll find the link to donate in the description of this video. Every little bit helps, and it means a lot. Thank you again for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.